BC Premier David Eby announcing that his post-secondary education minister, Selina Robinson, is stepping down amid the outcry over her comments she made about the Middle East. Eby says she'll remain in caucus, but Eby said the comments were belittling and demeaning and incompatible with her remaining in the cabinet. Let's go to Sarah Galashan, who's following this as well. Sarah, maybe we can just start with explain how we got to this point.
Not a surprise necessarily that we have gotten to this point, Hannah, given the mounting calls for her resignation that we have been hearing in the days leading up to this. What you heard the Premier say, though, there is that he was concerned with an array of comments made by who is now Selina Robinson, the former post-secondary minister in the province. These comments were made during a 2-hour online forum that was hosted by B'nai B'rith Canada, which is a Jewish human rights organization. This happening, as I say, January 30th. Of the array of comments that the Premier and others are concerned with, it is specifically what she said about the history of the land in this part of the world. And I'm going to play you, at the risk of anyone being hurt or offended, I think it's important for us to understand what we're talking about here, so we'll just play what she had to say in that online forum.
Israel was offered to the Jews who were displaced. So they have no connection to how it started. They don't understand that it was a crappy piece of land with nothing on it. There were, several 100,000 people, but other than that, it didn't produce an economy. It couldn't grow things. It didn't have anything on it.
Now, she has since apologized twice. She has described her comments as flippant, saying that she was trying to refer to a lack of natural resources in that area. Her second apology happening in writing earlier today, in which she acknowledged a deep hurt that she has caused, acknowledging that she has, through these comments, contributed to, among other things, anti-Islamophobia, and has committed as well to taking anti-Islamophobia training as a way of trying to make amends here. But as I say, there have been mounting calls for her to resign, and that is what has happened here, that she has stepped down, according to Premier David Eby, though I'll note he does say it was a challenging decision for her and me. Among those who have called for her stepping down, her resignation from this particular role as post-secondary minister, more than a dozen leaders from more than a dozen of mosques and Islamic associations, they wrote to the Premier asking for this to happen, but as well, Hannah, importantly saying that until restitutive action had been taken, there was an acknowledgement of the deep hurt that had been caused here, that no member of the BC NDP or candidate for the party, and that's important because there's an election coming up this fall, would be welcome on any of their properties, in any of their sacred spaces. And they were not alone, as I say, in making a call for this to happen. They were joined by other Indigenous leaders, the group Independent Jewish Voices Canada, as well as federal NDP MP. And you heard there in that press conference question about others within the provincial party making calls for something like this to happen. So as I say, not a surprise to see that Selina Robinson now has stepped down, is no longer the provincial minister for post-secondary education. She will, though, as you pointed out, remain in the caucus, and her focus, according to the Premier, will be on essentially making amends and addressing the divisions that she has now, he says, contributed to.
Sarah Galashan, thank you for this.
You bet.